Hello, Param Eftekari here with GTRA. I'm joined with Philippe, who's the Senior Director for Experian Public Sector. Philippe, we've been talking a lot about, over the last couple of days, about security, and one of the biggest issues in security is really trust and authentication. Can you please talk a little bit with the audience about your views in terms of what the biggest challenges are the government faces as it relates to this issue?
Sure, thank you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, it is a big challenge for any agency, the federal level, certainly a challenge within the private sector too, but within the government, that whole notion of trust. How do I trust that anyone who's accessing information, confidential information, is indeed that person, number one? Well, and number two, could they indeed have access to that information? So we see it across all the agencies within the federal space. We see it at the state and local levels too. And then the greater challenge is then, from there, is not just the trust within an agency, but also across agencies. How do they trust one another? So a credential that was issued by one agency, is it reusable elsewhere, et cetera? And then, of course, with external parties or external agencies, or agencies outside the federal space, state and local. And so the whole idea of this ecosystem being one and putting together a solution around authentication that can be agile enough that accommodates people in a relatively practical way, but that's secure enough is quite challenging.
Absolutely. So then, now that we've identified some of the challenges, what do you think some general approaches are for agencies to really solve this issue? Is it technology only? Is it process only? I mean, what are some of the things that they should be looking at when they're prioritizing their approach to solving this issue?
Yeah, so I think it's partially technology. I think it's partially policy-driven. And quite frankly, I think it's also cultural, right? So in some nations, you've got a national ID card, and it doesn't pose as much a problem because there's a commonality there. I mean, everyone's got a national ID card. Here in the U.S., we've got different challenges, cultural challenges. Again, the trust issue. And so what we look to is policy set out of FICAM, out of GSA, that sets these federations, if you will, and under a certain federation, you've got a trusted group of entities, if you will, that can operate within those federations. So I think that's one way to look at it. And I was talking to some of the government executives today, and they all agree that that was probably the right way to take on this challenge, right? Unfortunately, we can't get to one federation. Maybe in some countries you could because you've got that one commonality, but at least there should be some type of federation where those trusted entities, those trusted federations then could work.
Absolutely.
And those federations can attract a certain type of a vertical or populations, if you will, maybe a federation for healthcare, a federation for government folks, a federation for education. So within those federations, that trust is there, and then hopefully across those federations, then we start seeing that interoperability.
Fantastic. Which brings me to my next question. Talk a little bit about what Experian Public Sector does and your approach to solving this issue.
So the way we've approached this is through our Precise ID solution. That is the platform for the solution that we use to mitigate against identity theft. So in order to prove someone, we want to ensure that they are who they say they are. And the data is what we use to ensure that that person is indeed who they say they are, based on data we have on their credit, historical data, automotive data, international data, business data, and pinning all that data around a certain person, we can pretty much verify that that person is who they say they are. And then depending on the levels of assurance that are required for access to a certain entity, a certain site or whatnot, we can also increase the scrutiny, if you will, around the research from a person by, in addition to having that picture of that person, if you will, based on the data that we have, also pose certain questions that only that person would know. So even if I'd stolen your wallet and I could answer some of the questions about you, I still would be able to answer certain questions that only you know, that wouldn't be found in your wallet, and that we therefore call out-of-wallet questions.
Okay.
Questions like, in 1999, who was your mortgage carrier?
Okay.
What color was your car in 1992? Was it a Pinto? Was it,
sure.
etc. So with these types of questions, it just adds that extra level of security.
The power of data, right?
And that's right. And we've been using that actually in the financial sector for quite some time. And I think the government is now realizing that that is a pretty good way of vetting identities.
Terrific, terrific. So my last question is about GTRA. I know this is actually your first time here at our meeting. So I wanted to know what your thoughts are about our organization and what you find valuable and important about the environment that we create in our meetings.
So yeah, absolutely. This is our first time, and we're really excited to be here, and we're definitely looking forward to next year. I think this environment provides for an environment that's much more intimate. It provides for the opportunity to have folks be a lot more candid about what it is that they feel, talk about their challenges in a closed forum without having to worry about what's going to be written about them or overheard. And also the fact that these roundtables are very small, again, provides for that exchange one-on-one or one-on-three, which is invaluable. The staff's been great, very helpful, very accommodating, and I think we're really excited to be here. I think we'll get a lot out of this.
Fantastic. It's great to hear. All right, Phil, thanks for your time. We'll see you next time.